Lenny.
Hi, Nancy.
Welcome to episode 122 of the Front Porch Book Club.
The Front Porch Book Club is a podcast that meets twice a month.
We like to dig deep into the relationship between characters and the worlds they live in.
Grab your book and iced tea and join us on the front porch.
Lenny, I'm so excited. Today we interview Debra Curtis about her book, Laws of Love and Logic. This is Debra's debut novel at the age of 62. She's a retired professor of cultural anthropology at Salve Regina University, where she specialized in gender and sexuality. She's the mother of grown-up twin girls and lives in Rhode Island with her husband and her English bulldog, Harry, who is the star of much of her TikTok content.
Debra's book was published just this year, February 17, 2026, by Thousand Voices Press, a new venture of Jenna Bush Hager. Thanks to Thousand Voices for sending us an advanced reader copy so we could read this book before it was published and have her join us on the front porch.
Great. Let's get to it. Welcome, Debra, to our front porch.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, we're so excited to have you here. You've had a full career in academia, and now you've written a novel. When did you know you wanted to write a book? How did that happen?
It snuck up on me.
Oh!
It snuck up on me in my 50s. I wasn't one of those teenagers who thought, I'm going to be a writer. I wasn't a reader. I wasn't a writer. I was undiagnosed as a dyslexic. And I was always getting in trouble when I was in elementary school. And then when I got to high school, all of my friends were in college prep classes reading Shakespeare and Dickens. And I was in a voc tech class making lamps that never worked. And then I got into college on probation. I know this as a college professor, but most kids get into college and then maybe after their first year, they go a little wild and then they bomb out and then they're put on probation, maybe second semester. But right in the gates, you are on probation.
Wow.
So what happened was my freshman year, the lights went on in my first anthropology course. It was only later in my 20s did I realize that I was dyslexic.
So, Debra, for you to excelled so much in college and then professionally, that was a lot to overcome.
Yep.
Congratulations, you did it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Nancy. So what happened was I graduated with a degree in liberal arts from a small college in New England. Mm-hmm. And then my husband, the man that I'm still married to, 40 years, in 85, we moved out west to California to give that a try. And it was beautiful. And I got a job as a research assistant at Stanford. And I worked for a gentleman who was both MD in medicine, specialty psychiatry, and a PhD in mathematics at the Stanford School of Medicine. And he was researching substance abuse, and I was his research assistant. And he had a huge grant from the National Institutes for Health. And after the first week of me entering data in the computer, he sat me down and said, I think there's something wrong. And sure enough, we went off to get tested. And that's when I learned at 26 or 27 that I was a flaming dyslexic. And what happened was I think that my verbal skills, I've always been a talker. I think that masked my dyslexia. Mm-hmm. I have 27-year-old daughters, twins, and they say things like, any number greater than 9, Mom has problems reading.
Oh, yes.
It's everything. It's dyscalculia, it's numbers, it's words.
So with all of this to overcome, then, how did you get involved in writing?
When I was 15 in the 70s, I loved poetry. I loved the emerging feminist poets. I loved Adrienne Rich. I loved Denise Levertov. I loved them all. And I used to copy their poems word by word in my journals, my little composition notebooks. And then I would pretend I was a poet and try to make up some lines. And then I loved doing what some people love to do now, was copy the lyrics of songs. So not only did I copy the lyrics of poetry, but I copied the lyrics of songs, Joni Mitchell and Carole King, filled my journals. I just went through them, and it had been decades, right?
Oh.
That was how I got into writing, was discovering female poets.
So what happened in your 50s that you decided, hey, maybe I'm going to write a novel?
Okay. I was diagnosed as a dyslexic in the 80s. In 94, I get accepted into Rutgers University's PhD program. And I had the piece of paper that said, yep, she's dyslexic. I earned my PhD in anthropology. I took my twin daughters to the Caribbean for field work in anthropology. My specialty is gender and sex and girls coming of age in the Caribbean consumer culture. And then I taught, I earned tenure. I wrote a book based on my field work that's used at colleges. And then in my 50s, I guess I just got bored of teaching about and thinking about sex, just thinking about it and teaching it, not having it.
We'll make that very clear.
Right.
And so I started writing these Christmas letters. And these Christmas letters were just these crazy little letters that I wrote about what I had done the year before. Like one time I went off to Germany to go to a fasting clinic, and it's the oldest medically supervised fasting clinic in the world. And I went there, and I was there for 21 days. Obviously, I was really hungry. And so I would just, in my Christmas letters that year, I wrote about how I tried to break into the nurse's station to steal some hard-boiled eggs. So my Christmas letters became something that my friends said they looked forward to receiving. And then my one friend, Jean McCabe, used to read them to his mother, and she was in her 90s then. So I thought, okay, maybe I've got something with these Christmas letters. So then I started experimenting with fiction.
That's still a big step to write a novel. Did you take any classes? Did you read any books? What did you do?
Okay. Yes, I can see how listeners might be thinking, does she even know what a narrative arc is? No. I had to ask my daughters in a story, what's conflict? I remember asking them in 8th grade, what's a narrative arc? And one of them, drew out this thing and drew this. For listeners, I was just drawing an arc, in case you were wondering what I was doing with my voice. I started reading in my 20s, very slowly, but I was reading fiction. And then when I got to my 50s, I audited a course at the university where I taught for 25 years. I audited a course called Introduction to Creative Writing 101. And I sat there in my seat every Tuesday and Thursday with the other undergrads. And I wrote my short stories and I did my assignments. So that's it.
So then you produce Laws of Love and Logic. So what was the road to the publication of this novel? I mean, it seems like it's not that you were immersed in the publishing world, except for the academic publishing world. And that is entirely different than the popular publishing world.
No, you're absolutely right, Nancy. I started querying. I didn't even know what querying meant, let alone how to spell it. Yeah. But I looked online and I figured out I had to write these letters to these literary agents. I got on a little database called Publishers Marketplace. I paid $10 or $12 a month to have access to these names of literary agents in the U.S.
Yep.
And then I would follow the instructions to the T. And then I received close to, 180 rejections.
Yeah.
I think I got rejected by every literary agent in the United States.
Goodness.
And then I queried a woman in London at Curtis Brown, and her name is Felicity Blunt.
Yes.
And she's an amazing agent. She repped Bonnie Garmis, Lessons in Chemistry.
Yep.
She also repped Claire Keegan.
Yep.
The literary fiction writer from Ireland. And then I sent her my manuscript, and she called me one day in June of 2023. She said, I love the manuscript. And I said, well, I got to tell you, Felicity, I don't know anything about writing. And she's so sweet. She said, oh, yes, you do, Debra. And I can't even talk about it without getting emotional. Aww. And then she signed me.
Yeah.
I'll always be indebted to her. She signed me. She took a risk. And then she sold it first to the Germans. Then the Italians picked it up, Italian press, a Romanian press, a Hungarian press, and then the British. And my first editor is or was Alexis Kirschbaum with Bloomsbury. And then we sold it to Jenna Bush Hager, who's doing a venture with Penguin Random House / Ballantine Books. So in addition to Jenna's book club that she does on the Today Show once a month, she also has a publishing venture. Mm-hmm. So in the United States, it's Jenna Bush Hager, Random House, and in London, it's Bloomsbury.
Excellent. Well, I know you've been doing interviews with the publication of this novel. You were on the Today Show. You've given book talks at bookstores. You wrote an article for people.com. Tell us what it's like to be a published author, going around and talking to people about yourself and your book and this journey.
Well, I told Jenna the other day, we were together on the Today Show, and then that night she had a dinner party for me in New York with about 30 folks, including really well-known writers like Patrick Ryan of Buckeye. And I told her the next morning, I said, Tuesday, February 17th, the day the book was released, and the day I was with you on the Today Show, and last night, ranks right up there with the day I gave birth to my daughters and the day I married my husband.
Absolutely. I mean, it's huge. It is huge.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you, Linda.
That is
Thank you.
A great story.
Nancy.
Well, let's talk about the sisters and this book. I think I read at the back of your book that you do have a couple of sisters, 3, and you gave birth to twin girls who are sisters. And of course, Nancy and I are sisters. So I wanted to know about your 2 main characters who are sisters and your personal experience and what you learned from sisters to put yourself into this interesting role with these 2 girls growing up together and their relationship with each other, which was very interesting.
Yeah. My sisters and I lost our mother in August.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And somewhere in the 90s, around 99, she wrote us a letter on note paper that she dated it, and it was written in pencil. And she was telling us which piece of jewelry goes to which grandchild, etc. And at the end of that letter, which we had to read and reread 100 times between the time she died and this fall, she said, "You have to promise me you'll stick together. You have to promise me you'll stick together." And like all relationships, it can be very intense sometimes. We are in constant contact with each other. We have a thread on our phones, which goes back when we all got phones. Yeah. And sometimes I talk to one more than I talk to another. It's Ellen, Tish, and Jeannie. And I talk to Tish a lot. We have very similar interests and styles of talking. So for instance, if we're on the phone and all of a sudden we pull into a gas station, or if one of our children calls us, we don't even say goodbye. We just click. And then the conversation is picked up somewhere else and we don't question the other why she hung up. Usually we just say, gotta go. So she's the one that I talk to on a regular basis, sometimes 3 times a day. And she's the one that influenced a lot of the conversations that Jane and Lily had.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know if you remember this conversation, but at some point in the book, Jane and Lily are talking about the health of their father. And that dialogue about health and hygiene and taking care of someone who's old, that was a conversation right from a conversation I had with Tishy.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot in the book. I can't imagine my life without my sisters. Our children are very, very close, more like brothers and sisters. So that sense of loyalty and love, that definitely pervades Lily and Jane's experiences together.
Yeah.
No matter what one does to the other, or no matter what choice one makes, Jane and Lily, the 2 characters in the book, will always stay together, just as my sisters and I have.
Yeah, and in many ways, that relationship between those sisters is the central relationship of their lives.
Yes.
It's the constant. It's the ballast. That's the person they go to talk about hard things. It's the person that they check in with and who will tell them, that's wrong. You should have done that differently. It's the honest person in their lives who really doesn't want anything from them, but want them to live the life that they think they should be living.
Yes. Nicely put. Nicely put, Nancy.
Yeah, I think Linny and I have that kind of relationship.
Oh, you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I think so, yeah.
I always tell people, if anything happens to my sisters, I don't know if I'll recover.
Yeah. Besides sisters, I feel like so much of this book is a celebration of the lives of women in general. So we were in love with Lily and Jane's mom.
Loved her.
Yes.
Loved the mom.
She was so purposeful in teaching her girls that contrary things can be held at the same time: science and belief in God, the importance of being a strong woman, and of finding a good man, seeking social justice, and finding personal meaning. So tell us why you wanted Lily and Jane to have such a beautiful role model in their mother.
Okay. Nancy and Linda, I've had questions like this about the story and the plot and the character development.
Yeah.
I know those words now. But I just wrote. I never knew what I was writing. And I'll give you a very clear example of this. What I told other people, and it's the truth, and I've told Jenna and Felicity this, is that this story came to me as a vision. I know that's a little strange for some people, but what I saw in my mind's eye was a woman. This is how I first met this character. I saw her in my mind's eye, and she had her hands in her pockets, and she was fingering a prescription bottle, and she was at a marina, and I could hear the gulls, and I could hear the metal against the masts, and the way the wood docks rub against the pilings. And then she heard, the character heard, whoever this woman was, heard mandolin music. And it was coming from down below in a cabin on a sailboat.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see the yellow glow of light from the cabin window. And I thought to myself, who is this woman? Where is she going? Who's playing the guitar? What does she have in her pocket? What kind of prescription medication is that? What marina is she at? I knew it wasn't me. I grew up around marinas, but I hadn't been to a marina since the 70s when my father was alive. So then I followed that woman in my head and on paper, and that it became Lily Webb, the protagonist of the story.
Yeah.
So when you ask questions about Lily's mom, she just appears. I mean, I just knew that she had to be a woman I could relate to. I wanted her to be Catholic to reflect my upbringing. She lives at a monastery with her husband who teaches science. I knew she was going to be progressive because serving others is what I've come to understand is our purpose in life. We're here to serve others. And in particular, we're here to follow the Gospels and serve the poor and the sick and those imprisoned. And that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
So that's who she happened to be. And then the little stuff that she does with the girls, that came from me and my daughters. I mean, they read the book too. And they were like, when we were folding socks, and I would say, okay, girls, not everyone. And the twins would say in unison by the age of 7, we know, Mom, not everyone believes that Christ is the only God or whatever.
I love it.
And then the other thing that I really used to say to them, but the editor took it out. Now, girls. And they would say, yeah, Mom, we know not everyone believes Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And never get into a white van.
Oh, that's good.
That's fantastic. No, it's funny to talk to writers and to hear like this person just emerged. But I think this mom, you were pulling from yourself to pull,
I think so,
some things out of the mom role here.
Yeah.
You had some sister perspective, but she got some mom perspective too.
No, but Linda, because I was the woman in the book club with the monks.
You were.
Remember Mrs. Webb goes to a book club and all the monks want to talk about Tolstoy. And she's like, I'm such an idiot. It's like these men have PhDs in Russian lit. That was me. I was the third woman in 40 years to be invited to this book club run at the Portsmouth Abbey, which is founded by Benedictines. So they're all monks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a few lay men. And then I would sit on the couch and Father Damien would say, okay, let's hear from the ladies. And now I went in there as a radical feminist. And I would sit on the couch and wait my turn. And then if one of the women in a Tolstoy short story had an affair, Father Damien would turn to me and say, Debra, do you know women like that?
That's from the
book. That is in the book.
That's fantastic.
All right.
Oh, great.
I'm with Lenny. I know where mom came from now. That is fabulous.
That's great.
Oh
I
my
love it.
goodness.
You guys, I forgot that. I forgot that was in the book.
Oh, it's in there. I think maybe I need to reread the book and find out more about you.
Yeah.
You're on to me, Linda.
But I do have a question. Jane struggles with drug and alcohol pretty much since her mom passes throughout her teenage years and into adulthood. And it does create a bit of a barrier and a lot of dysfunction in her life, as it does in other families as well. Why did you think you wanted to explore the issues of drug and alcohol on these two sisters and their families? I'm a therapist by trade, so I thought that storyline was interesting to me. Was curious as to why you put it in there.
Oh, because I'm an addict.
Okay, I just wondered. That's not surprising. You poured a lot of yourself into this book. Was it good therapy for you to do it?
Linda, I think so.
I would imagine, yeah.
I haven't had a drink in 32 years.
Congratulations.
I'm a dyslexic, so I can't do the math. But the last time I had a drink was March. Honey!
Get your help desk! Where is he?
When was the last time I had a drink?
He might know.
He'll know exactly. He'll be like, March 14th at midnight when you took that shot of tequila and you mixed it with limeade. 1990.
Right.
1990. Or 1994. Oh, somewhere in the 90s.
Well, congratulations for that. That's huge.
Thank you. I love it. I mean, I love, not drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very impressive. I thought that it was interesting that was an issue that the sisters struggled with between one another. Lily, in some ways, didn't really understand what Jane was going through. Lenny and I talked about this in our previous episode about the book. And I feel like people in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even maybe the aughts, had less of an understanding of addiction as a disease. Lily was more in the mind frame of it's a choice and it's a bad choice you're making. I was wondering if you experienced that in your addiction journey.
I definitely understand the disease component. I understand that addiction has a genetic basis, a biological basis. Jane did not see herself as sick and suffering.
No.
And I don't even know if Lily saw Jane as sick and suffering. I think Lily saw her as, I don't know what she allowed her mind to do in terms of seeing her sister. Loyalty was number one.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And that loyalty might have clouded her vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think at that time, too, there was a difference in how people approached it in their families. And I think that was true of just the time. People didn't deal with it the way they deal with it today.
I have a question about birds. There are a lot of birds in this book. Marshall, Lily's husband, is a professor of ornithology at Cornell. So I was very surprised to discover there actually is a Cornell lab of ornithology. So do you have a connection or a love of birds? And what is your connection, if you have one, with this Cornell lab?
I don't have a connection with the Cornell lab. It is one of the premier laboratories for ornithology in the world. I don't know anything about birds.
Well, you wrote a lot about birds. So how did you learn enough about birds to write about them from a professor's point of view in the book?
No, I respect that. Yeah, didn't Anne Patchett write a book about opera and she didn't know anything about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those things. So I live on an island, and this island is called Aquidneck Island in Rhode Island. It has 3 towns, Newport, Middletown, Portsmouth, and there are bridges to access the mainland, Maine, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, etc. On our island, we have a national refuge for birds and wildlife run by the Department of Interior. It's a federal piece of land. And I walk there every day for 2 hours a day, very slowly. And I know the basics of birds. I can identify a red-tailed hawk. I can identify certain owls, other songbirds, but I wouldn't call myself a birder, and nor would I ever consider myself an expert. While I was teaching at Salve, and I was teaching cultural anthropology for 25 years, I had a colleague, and we built a department together, which joined environmental studies with anthropology. His specialty was ornithology.
Oh.
Because it was such a small university, it wasn't uncommon that we shared students that, majored in both environmental studies and anthropology. And he took students on a lot of research expeditions. He brought in a lot of world experts from Cornell. Some of them were from other parts of the world. People that can, like Marshall, the character, who can identify like 2,000 bird calls. So most of the science I learned from either listening to him lecture, seeing his syllabus, or reading books that he gave me, or talking to his colleagues. And then if I wrote 3 pages, then it was heavy into birds, before it went off to Random House into production, he sat down and reviewed those paragraphs and just made sure that, yes, this bird would have been in this particular area at this time of year. No, that bird would not have been on a tree branch. It would have been on the ground. And then if I wanted the scene where Lily and Marshall go to Louisiana to find an endangered chicken, he helped me pick the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
I did it the way I do everything. There were 10 books I had to read. I would read them, and I would call the Audubon Society. I called the aviary down in Pittsburgh and talked to them, but I'm nowhere near an expert.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That part of the book was just an interesting flavor to the other components of it.
If you put 10 birds in front of me, I might not be able to identify them perfectly. I know the mythology of birds. I know that doves symbolize the Holy Spirit. I know that bird feathers are very, very important in the anthropology of religion. The shamans in Mongolia will cover themselves with birds because birds signify a transcendence, a type of spirituality, and they occupy a liminal space between here and beyond. So that stuff I know from anthropology.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. Okay. We want to talk about the boy.
Yeah.
Lily's high school beau. The boy doesn't have a name. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It was purposeful. I thought maybe he might get a name later, but he was always known as the boy.
I know this is hard to believe. And if someone were telling me this, I'm not sure if I would believe them. But some things, while they look intentional and they look purposeful, they did not occur to me. I'll give you an example. So when people say, you intentionally didn't name the boy, I'm like, well, his last name is Cooper.
Yeah.
He's got a name, it's Cooper. That had to be pointed out to me by Felicity.
Okay.
The boy doesn't have a name, Deb. I'm like, well, it's Cooper. But I know the boy's name, but then I was like, oh, okay. And then what the people would say to me, well, why doesn't he have a name? I'm like, I don't know.
Okay.
This is what happened too. I know this sounds so weird, but when I was writing, if I got stuck and I didn't know where the story was going, or I was stuck on dialogue, I would take what I would call a nap, which meant this sounds so weird. I write in my bed. So I'd be in my room and I would put the computer to the side of the bed, and I would put my headphones on, my noise cancelers. I'd put my sound machine on. I'd put my mask on, and I would just lie there and wait. And I'd get really, really quiet, and I would do my breathing exercises, and I would just wait.
Yeah.
Until I was given the next instructions. And I was listening to Rick Rubin, the big music producer.
Yeah.
And he said it's like downloading.
Oh, interesting.
And that's what would happen. I'd get really, really quiet, and all of a sudden Jane would start talking. And then I would grab my phone and dictate into my phone what Jane is saying to me. I told you it was weird.
It's not weird at all.
No, it's the creative process of you authors. You all have your own little things going on. It's fascinating to me.
It is to me, because I didn't know how it worked.
I think that works for you.
Yeah.
So did you title the book Laws of Love and Logic, or did your publisher title the book?
All right, I'm going to tell you a true story.
Okay.
Oh, good.
At the risk of people thinking, wow, is she still drinking and drugging? This is a two-part story. It goes like this. A lot of people say, after 150, 180 rejections, how did you stay in the game after all those years?
Yeah.
Well, this is part one. There was a woman right out of Central Casting down the street in a place called Fall River, Massachusetts. She was a psychic. Her name was Rita Pacheco. I've been going to her for 20 years. Long gray hair, stilettos, so many cats, you can't even count.
Love it.
I've been going to her for 20 years. But 10 years ago, in 2015, before I wrote this book, and before I even knew I was going to write this book, she said, the woman you're looking for is in London. Then I would go back to her every couple of years or months, whatever, and I would say, Mrs. Pacheco, how am I going to publish my novel? And I'd pay her $15. And she would say, the woman you're looking for is in London. And I don't even think she ever went to high school. I mean, I think she probably completed the 8th grade. So I don't know what she knew about publishing. So I had that in the back of my head. And Rita had already said some things that had come true in our lives, my daughter's lives, etc. So I trusted Rita Pacheco. You know, I write the book and I name it Ask the Birds for Forgiveness. And that's a line I stole from Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov that took me a year to read.
Oh, yeah.
It's Father Zosimo talking about his brother who says we have to ask the birds for forgiveness. And that implies the interconnectedness of all life. So now it's 2023 and I'm in Paris with my daughter, Emma, who designs bras for disabled women. And we went to get some banana bread. And then after we ate the banana bread on the street in Paris, I see this little art studio and it's the size of a closet. So my husband and I and Emma make a beeline for this art studio. And we go into this small art studio and it's a gentleman by the name of Pascal. I didn't know him then. And he is a sculptor. And I knew immediately when I walked into his studio that he was prophetic. So I walked up to him. I got right in front of his face. My husband is used to this. I didn't know his name, but I just said, how am I going to publish my novel? And he said, well, you're going to change the name. Swear to God, my husband and my daughter are right there. And he goes, what's the name of your book now? And I said, Ask the Birds for Forgiveness. And he said, we're just going to call it Birds. So then he took this sculpture that I was going to buy for my daughter. He turned it upside down and wrote birds on it. Then I said to him, well, now what do I do? And he said, you write The Lady in London.
What?
As God is my judge. My husband's not into this. He's a physician and he's more of a scientist.
Yeah.
But he was standing right there, daughter on this side, and Pascal's right in front of us. The room is only the size of a closet. So I go home, I write to Felicity Blunt, and then she contacts me. And that's a true story. As God is my judge. May I be struck down right now if I'm lying.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
Note that Debra has not been struck down.
Then I submit it to Felicity under Birds.
Yeah.
She helps me rewrite it. She's really gifted, extraordinarily gifted. Before we send it out to the publishing world, she says, this is the new title, Laws of Love and Logic. And I was like, yeah, that's the new title. Let's go. So Felicity, you have to give her credit for that.
Okay. What do you think Laws of Love and Logic are in this story?
We've never talked about it. I just said yes because she believed in me. So I just held on. If she said jump, I said how high? When I think about it, and I've been forced to think about it, obviously, I think we have two competing forces that have authority in our lives, love and logic, passion and reason, the intellectual domain and the affective domain. Sometimes they compete. Most of the time, they overlap somehow. Mm-hmm. So I think love and logic, passion and reason capture Lily's struggle, and they also capture Jane's life trajectory. Jane is searching to be free.
So, Debra, can you have two loves in your life?
I'll tell you what I said on the Today Show. That didn't come from me. I don't know where that came from because I was sitting on the set with Jenna and Chanel, and Jenna asked that question at the end of our segment.
Oh, well, then it was a good question for me to ask if Jenna asked it.
She said, can a heart hold two loves?
Oh, she said it better than me.
And I just said, if you're lucky. What I mean by that is that I'm not going to introduce the variable of time, but I will say that can you hold two great loves in your heart at the same time? I'm not going to address that necessarily, but I will say that what I said the other day on the Today Show, which is I don't think we really understand the capacity of love. We have limits on it. We really do. And love is a force like gravity. It's real, it's powerful, it's transformative. And if we're lucky, we'll have a lot of love. If we're lucky, we got to open ourselves up to it.
Yeah. And I think there are also so many different types of love as well that we often give predominance to romantic love. But there's so much to be said for instance, sisterly love, that familial bond. There's so much to be said for the love of friends and the love of humanity as well. Have you ever read The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis?
No. I will, though.
It's very good. Have you ever read The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis, Lenny?
No.
Lenny. She calls you Lenny?
She's the only one, Debra. She gets lots of privileges other people don't have. That's a sisterly thing. I used to be Lenny Penny, so I'll take Lenny any day.
My father used to call me Jebby, only because he couldn't get our names right. He would go, Ellen, Tishy, Jeannie, Jebby, whatever her name is.
Get over here.
You know what my twins told me one day? They were in college, and it was one twin, but I knew that she had been talking about this to her sister. And I'm so glad that I was sober when I heard this, and I had had a number of years of sobriety. She said, you know, Mommy, I love Zoe so much. I'll never be able to love anyone as much as I love Zoe, including you and Daddy. And I said, I understand that, and I respect it. You know, God brought you both in the world at the same time, and I'll never underestimate that connection.
Oh, what a good answer, Mom.
Well, that's sobriety. Because the old me would have been like,
yeah. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. Hey, you have a lot of songs that you refer to. You mentioned the Brothers Karamazov, lots of literature. You mentioned lots of philosophy, lots of science, but you also note a lot of songs, church hymns, Springsteen's Thunder Road. Is music an important part of your life?
Yes. And while I'm writing, I'll listen to the same song for 2 or 3 days, all day, 8 hours, whether it's, you know, Led Zeppelin or Joni Mitchell's River, or, the one that gets me all the time is Harry Nilsson's Without You.
Oh.
Remember that one from the 70s, 73? I can't live.
If living without you.
Yes,
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
That's a good one.
I love that part of that. We're all about the same age.
Yeah.
And so the history of all that music, I had all of that enjoyment throughout their growing up. Oh, yeah, I remember that song.
Yeah. And that's the music I still listen to.
Yeah.
I guess it just calms my nervous system.
Yeah. And there is something about music that really anchors certain feelings and certain times of your life. And so, boy, you mentioned one of those songs, and that is a trigger that opens up just memories and feelings and experiences that maybe you'd forgotten even.
Yeah.
There's something magic about music.
No, you're right, Nancy. And you just hit the nail on the head. It acts as like I don't want to use this word because it's so woo-woo, but portal. It acts as a portal. It just opens up that time and you just go right back.
And when you hear new music and it just hits in a certain way, I think it accesses parts of an individual's emotion and even intellect in ways nothing else can. Music is very special.
I think that's what's going on. You know, as a dyslexic who's trying to work with memory and language and then the smallest sounds of language, maybe the music just relaxes me so that I can do what I can't do in a different state.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have to write longhand.
Oh, do you? Okay.
On a yellow legal pad in my bed. And I have to be in my pajamas, even if it's 4:00 in the afternoon. And then I take my phone and I dictate from the yellow legal pad and it goes into an email. And then I cut and paste into a Word document and I type like this, boom, 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 one finger. But for years, I took a lot of grief from my sisters. Not all of them, but a few of them. And they would say, what, are you still in bed? 4:00 in the afternoon. What, are you still in bed? You still in your pajamas? Have you gotten outside? And now they read the book. And now they're like, oh, this is why she stays in bed all day.
Uh-huh.
She's reading and writing. So that just came out last night.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, they're
Really?
seeing the product of all of what they thought was, what did they think it was, like laziness
Or TikTok.
or TikTok? Right.
That's true, because I had my first dog in 2016 and his name is Harry. He was an English bulldog. He was my first dog, and we got on TikTok together, and we got up to like 90,000 friends. And all we did was, hang out together and eat food in bed and share snacks and go for walks. And then he left me a couple of days before Christmas. But
No.
they always thought I was just on TikTok, but I was really writing. And then at night, Harry and I would get on TikTok.
At what point were you telling people, I'm writing a novel? Because I think that is a mental barrier for a lot of writers, a lot of creatives to say, no, I'm going to own what I am doing. I am going to tell people what I'm trying to do. Did it take a while for you to tell people that?
Well, yes, I was embarrassed. And you know what, Nancy? I bet you they were embarrassed for me, because I'm sure that people thought, oh my God, she's got no business writing a novel, let alone a sentence. She doesn't even know what a semicolon is. But my sisters knew I was working on something. Definitely my husband knew.
Yeah.
And definitely my daughters knew.
Yeah.
I think I took everybody by surprise. Well, it took me by surprise, because it's like The Boy. What are the odds in any decade, coming from a little place like Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and then being scouted to play college ball at a Division I school, and then there's the potential that he may be drafted by the NFL, but would he ever play for the NFL? Would he ever get on the field?
Right.
The odds are long. And that's the same as me, with no degree, no pedigree, no Iowa, MFA, nothing. And then Felicity Blunt, of all agents, and then Jenna Bush Hager. Like, what are the odds? That's why when Jenna kept saying to me this week, how does it feel? I'm like, unbelievable. It's not real. It doesn't happen to people like me. Right?
Apparently it does.
Yeah. I want to know what your sisters think of you. And having an author sister that knows Jenna Bush Hager and is on that Today Show.
Now I think they understand. They still think that I forget things, or I'm always late. But I guess they know now that I do have something upstairs.
Oh.
Are you working on something next after this incredible success?
Yes, it's done.
Oh.
Felicity hasn't read it yet. She knows about it. It's a book called The Anthropologist's Daughter. It's about an anthropologist, and it's the 80s. And she goes to Brown University, where she earns a PhD in anthropology and Slavic languages. And she's fluent in Russian. And she's the first American to be allowed into Mongolia, which in 89 was controlled by the Soviets. And she goes there to study, to complete field work among the herders, people, nomadic pastoralists, people who move frequently with their animals, whether it's yak or camels or cattle or horses or sheep or goats. So she goes there to live on the grasslands with these people. And it's a time where in Mongolia, where it's still very oppressive, and intellectuals and political dissidents go missing. And she falls in love.
Sounds exciting. I think
like
you got a winner there.
Do you remember that movie Red in the 80s?
Yes.
It's big like that.
Ooh, sweeping epic.
Yeah, it's big. Big.
All right. That's exciting.
I hope so.
I think it sounds interesting.
Yeah.
What's the best way for people to stay in touch with you, Debra, and all your goings on, if they're not your sister with a long thread?
Okay, so I'm looking at my Instagram name. It's deb.curtis.906. And that's Instagram. And people can message me, and I know how to get the messages and how to respond back.
That's good. I'm impressed. That's
you.
better than I can do.
So I will put a link to that Instagram on the show notes for this episode, so people can easily find it there.
And Jenna made a playlist. So you can go to Spotify and look up Laws of Love and Logic playlist. and all the songs from the 70s.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
The Carole King, the James Taylor, Led Zeppelin.
That's awesome.
I listen to Spotify all the time. I will definitely add that to my listening.
Good. It was lovely talking to you.
It was so great talking with you. Thank you so much for joining us. What fun.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I loved hearing your story as sisters.
Loved having you on our front porch.
Thank you. And if I ever get out to Pennsylvania or Nebraska, I hope to find you both.
We'll be here.
Yes. And I know Nebraska is not a dream destination for many people, but it's a lovely place to visit, and we've got a room waiting for you.
Oh, gosh. Thank you.
I've got peppermint patties waiting for you because we're the home of the peppermint patty. So, Deb, it's no problem.
I think chocolate trumps anything that I might be able to offer.
Oh, we got Hershey's chocolate, too. We got Hershey Kisses.
Yeah.
We got it all in Pennsylvania.
A lot of good chocolate in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
I've been to both states. I think they're beautiful.
Okay.
I've been to Nebraska. My husband and I drove through Lincoln, Nebraska once.
Well, that's where I live. Well, thank you so much. It was delightful to get to know you. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you both very much.
You know, Nancy, she was a surprise in so many different ways. Just the creative process and how she poured herself into that book. Plus, she could be her own author of her own movie almost. Her character arc, now that I know what a character arc is huge.
Yeah.
Like she is this person and she grows up in this family and she has sisters. And the way her life has been with all its little twists and turns and nuances to the point where she is now, I found her like a fascinating person. Mm-hmm. Not only the sisters, talking about the sisters, but I thought she was fascinating.
Yeah, it seems to me she's lived about 3 or 4 different lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so fun. How delightful was she to talk to?
Yeah, really fun person.
We didn't record all of our conversation because we're just chit-chatting, of course, but we have so much in common with her.
I know. We could have gone on all afternoon with her. Don't you think?
Yeah.
She had to leave us because she had to go sign thousands of copies of books somewhere.
Yeah.
But we could have talked to her all afternoon.
As it turns out, she lives on the same island, Off-Road Island, as our Aunt Billy.
Yeah, that's just amazing.
And you're right. You said that she poured so much of herself into this book. There's so many interesting aspects of her life and her experience that showed up in the book.
I would really like to see us have that link for all of the music on our website.
Yeah, I'll put that on our episode show notes so anyone can listen to that playlist. That's fun.
Yeah, that would be fun to actually listen to that while you're reading the book, if you can multitask.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can. But that would be a little added bonus, I think.
Mm-hmm. Everyone, thanks so much for listening. Our website is frontporchbookclub.com.
Our episodes come out twice a month on the first and third Wednesday of each month.
See you next time, Lenny.
See you, Nance.